some of you will not be aware what the hell this is, but essentially, during GCSEs, I used to do revision guides because I'm such a nice guy. But basically, it's because that's the only way I could revise. The only way I could revise was by making these videos, and it worked to a certain extent. I made a load of history ones, and so now I'm making A-level ones. So hopefully it works the same way, and if it does, then happy days. But let's get straight into it. So first thing I want to talk about to do with the Kite Runner is the whole theme. So the whole theme of the book is based on Afghanistan and sort of Afghanistan's story and its problems, and you know, trying to portray it in a different light, I think, to how we see it in the news. And that was sort of the point of the novel when Khaled Hosseini wrote it. And linked with Afghanistan, it's got other different themes, motifs, you know, stuff like that. So the first one we're going to talk about is blood. So blood is a motif, it's a theme. It recurs throughout the novel. It appears, you know, I'd say every few chapters. We have things like Amir's bike, which is known as blood red. We see the blood dripping from Hassan after he's been raped. It's referred to as blood money. Some of the money he receives for his birthday, I think it is. We see Kamal's father when he shoots himself. All the blood just like flies out of his head. So we see blood a lot. There's probably more examples, but that's what I can think of off the top of my head. Throughout the novel, when we see blood just appearing everywhere, and it's just very dark and not a very nice thing, is it? So that's the blood. The next one is violence, and violence is obviously it's a massive part of Afghanistan's recent history. With the Russian invasion, particularly to do with Afghanistan, but also just interwoven into the book, we've got things like Hassan's rape, Kamal's rape. You know, you have this ear-eater idea of Asif. You have the fight between Asif and Amir. You have the kite tournament where you're trying to, you know, chop each other's kites down and stuff, and it's just constantly violence. It seems like everything is fueled by violence, essentially. Which isn't, you know, perhaps the best thing, but yeah, it's just a very violent place, and it sort of thrives off violence, I think, in a lot of ways. The next theme is illness. This isn't as big one. All I can really think about, there's a picture of a kid with polio here, pretty dodgy, because that's what I believe that's what's his name, Hassan's father, that guy, yeah, Ali. That's what Ali had, polio, I think. And anyway, it's like a really nice disease, like a muscle thing and bones and stuff. We also have the childbirth death with Amir's mother dies giving birth to him, which isn't great. And sort of linked into the illness, we have the surgery. So we have Hassan's cleft lip, which gets fixed via surgery, leaves that little scar, but his cleft lip's fixed when Baba pays for the surgery. We have Amir's circumcision. Happy days for Amir, not so. I think there's also, is there a bit of surgery after Amir and Asif's fight? I'm not 100% sure. This is like my first lot of revision for it, in case you haven't have guessed. And then the last one I've got is plants. So we see things like the pomegranate tree, and then we see other bits of vegetation springing up across the novel. But the pomegranate tree was planted outside the original house that they all stayed in. And we have this idea of the Sultans of Kabul, you know, Amir and Hassan, Sultans of Kabul. So that's all sort of linked in with the plants and stuff. So I'm going to move on to the characters. The first character I want to talk about is Baba. So Baba is this massive, booming, big presence. You think he's this noble character, this, you know, wonderful man. Turns out not so much. Turns out he's a bit of a liar, really. You know, he never told his son and that he was actually his son. But then we see he sort of did it with good intentions, and I think overall he's a good man. But you know, he just made some errors, but he did his best to be good again, to use a quote from the book. You know, he's a very sort of, he tries to base himself off a lot of morals. We know what kind of guy Baba is, you know, secret slut. No, I'm joking, but you know, that's what he's about. So we go on to his son Amir. Well, first of his sons, Amir. Amir, we don't really like him, do we, at the start of the book? I think the first half of the novel is us kind of going, whoa, Amir, what's going on here? We sort of know he's going to be a good guy because he's the main character of the book. He's the protagonist. We know he's probably going to come out good. We always see he has pretty good intentions, but we never really see him act on them in the first half of the book. He's a bit of a, I can't really say the word, but he's a bit of a, first half of the book. So that's Amir, he's very sort of harsh towards Hassan, unappreciative. But then we see in the second half of the book, he's trying desperately, really, he'll do anything to get his sort of dignity back, to get his life back, to like a sort of even balance of good and bad. And he does feel like he has to balance the books in the second half, and I think by rescuing Sohrab, he does. Moving on to Sohrab's father, Hassan, who's also Amir's brother, if you remember. Hassan is pure, he's absolutely golden, he's a prince, and Amir loves him, as far as Amir says. And the two, they go together perfectly, apart from the fact that, in the end, he pretty much sends him to his death. But Hassan, great guy, everybody loves Hassan, deserves the world, but in the end, the world hates him, I suppose. Moving on, we've got Soraya. Soraya, obviously Amir's wife. Nice person. She's had her past as well. But she sort of all gets that out as soon as they meet. Amir doesn't. Soraya, she's described as being, I think, quite ugly in the book, but the pictures aren't that bad from the movie, but I think the movie got quite a bit wrong. But yeah, she's described as quite ugly, but Amir's madly in love with her. And her father's General Tahiri. I'm not going to talk about General Tahiri, but he's a bit weird. But you got to remember Soraya and all the values and things she sort of brings, sort of a voice in Amir's ear, making sure he's doing what he should be doing. Then we've got Sohrab as well in the same picture. Sohrab, Hassan's little child, and obviously he gets taken by Asif, etc. But Sohrab obviously becomes a sort of recluse at the end. And he obviously cuts himself, and he has those self-harming issues, which aren't that good. But in my opinion, if I was rescuing a kid from one of the most effed up places in the world, taking him to one of the safest places in the world, and he started cutting himself in the bath, I would not be happy, right? But that's just my take on things. Obviously, Asif, absolute nutcase. Think of him as like a Afghan Hitler. He's a Nazi, essentially he's a Nazi. He believes that he's very racist, against just discriminative against the Hazaras, of which Hassan is technically. And he's Asif, the ear eater, becomes one-eyed Asif when he gets hit in the eye with the brass ball thing. And he's a major character, obviously involved in the rape. We sort of leave him for a while in the middle part of the book, but we see him at the start and the end, and he's a big part. So I think including Asif in a lot of your answers, especially about violence and evil, obviously is going to be paramount to those sort of answers. And that's pretty much it for this first one. 8 minutes goes so fast when I'm doing these. Jesus Christ, right? I hope this has helped a little bit. I know I've not exactly got into detail, but basically I've just started revising as well. So I'll probably make another one on the Kite Runner. I'm going to make a video on A Streetcar Named Desire. I'm going to make a video on All My Sons, and I'll hopefully be doing them for economics, politics, and ICT as well. Well, probably not ICT, but economics and politics. So, hopefully they help me. This has done me a world of good. So, ready for our mocks on Tuesday and Thursday. I'm going to be reusing these in summer. I'm probably going to make more videos in summer, but for now, all I'd like to say is sayonara, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, in a bit, kid.